Hello everyone, welcome back to TechnoAarambh. So in today's video we are diving into a trending topic in web development, that is Next.js. We'll start by understanding what is Next.js, why it was introduced, and key features that make it a powerful framework for modern web application. Then we'll go step by step through how to create Next.js app, exploring its default project structure and how everything fits together. And to make things even more exciting, we will build a simple weather app using Next.js. This app will fetch real-time weather data and display it beautifully on the user interface. So sit back, relax, let's learn Next.js together, how it works, how to implement it, and how to build something cool within it. So let's get started. So now let's understand what is Next.js. So Next.js is a powerful React framework that makes web development faster and more efficient. It comes with built-in features like server-side rendering, static site generation, and API routes, along with image optimization. It's a great choice for developer for building high-performance application. Now let's go and understand some key features of Next.js. Next.js uses a file-based routing system, making navigation simple and very easy to use. And second, it's rendering. It supports both client-side as well as server-side rendering to optimize the performance. Then data fetching simplifies fetching data using asynchronous. Then styling and TypeScript support. Next.js makes styling and TypeScript integration seamless to improve both performance and developer experience. One of the best thing about Next.js, that is, it's beginner friendly, making it easy for developer to get started. In this tutorial, we'll build a small weather app using Next.js. In that, what we'll do, we'll just enter the city name and accordingly it will fetch the real-time data, weather data from an API and displays on the user interface. But before that, we'll understand the project structure and the installation process of Next.js. So we'll go one by one. First we'll see the installations process or steps, then we'll install in real time, or we'll install the same, or we'll follow the same steps to install the Next.js, and then we'll set up a project structure, and then we'll start with this actual implementation of the project. So let's get started. So now let's understand the installation process for Next.js. As you can see, I have opened the official documentation which provides the step-by-step guide on the installation for Next.js. To install Next.js automatically, you need to follow some commands. So those are, so you need to hit this command in the terminal, that is npx create next app at the latest. So it will download the latest dependencies or packages of the Next.js. This command will start the installation process. So during the installation process, you will prompted with few more options such as project name, TypeScript setup, ESLint configurations, and using the SRC directories, app routers, and many more. So there are few other options as well depending on the setup of your project. So now let's jump into the VS Code, run this command, and go through these installation steps one by one. So let's get started. So now I have opened the command prompt. So let's follow the steps, installation steps that mentioned in this official documentation. So let's quickly go and copy this command, and let's come back and let's paste npx create next app at the latest. So it will start the installation process. It will take some time for the installation. So as I mentioned, so it asks for the project name. So what is your project name? So let's enter the project name, weather app. So we are creating one weather app. So let's click on enter. Then it asks for, would you like to use the TypeScript? Then yes. Then would you like to use the ESLints? Yes. Then again one more options for the CSS. Yes. So would you like your code inside SRC or directory? So I need the code inside the src, so I'll use yes. And would you like to use app routers? Definitely yes. Then some dev tools related information. Yes, we'll this during this process we'll mostly use the default settings. So most of things that we'll use yes or no. So this the import aliases, that is mostly used for importing the files. So some of the cases we need to use the @ or alias names. So accordingly you will import your files inside the different files. So that is why it is used for the import aliases. Then using the npm installation, it started the installation process. So as you can see, installing the dependency of React DOM, and then Next.js, and then it is installing the dev dependencies like TypeScripts, Node, and many more. So it will take some time for the installation. So now the installation is done. We have successfully created the folder. So now let's quickly go to the file explorer, and then let's open the VS Code. So if you see, the weather app folder structure is already by default created. So if you see, the node modules is installed, and inside the public there are some svgs. Default svgs are loaded while creating the or following the steps of the installation. In that you can see the page.tsx is created, the TypeScript that we are using, and in that the default page or the HTML page is created. So this env file, the Next.js config file default creation is done. Then if you see the package.json, where the latest version of React is used, React 19.0.0 and React DOM 19.0.0. Then the Next.js version, that is 15.1.7, and all the remaining dev dependencies that is installed. So now quickly we'll start the project, and we'll see how it looks on the UI, and then we'll start with the actual implementation of the project. So now let's hit this npm run dev. So it will start the local environment, and then we'll see on the UI how it looks, and then we'll start with this weather app creation. Now our app is running on the local environment, so let's quickly see on the UI. So if you see the UI, the Next.js default page is loaded. So now what we'll do, we'll set up or we'll create a project structure for our weather app. So let's quickly go again back to the VS Code. So in that, what we'll create some folders. So first let's create a util folder. So I will create one util folder, utils. Inside this util, I will create fetch weather.js file to fetch the data from the weather. So I will use fetch weather.js. So in that, let's quickly create. So let's enter the code, or let's use. So I will use import xyz from xyz, then export const fetch weather. So as I said, the fetch API will use this async feature. So I'll create this function as async. Async will enter the city name, and we'll use the arrow. In that, we'll use the API key. So then enter the URL. We'll use this URL, and we'll use we'll use this OpenWeatherMap open source URL to fetch the data. So we'll copy this API and URL later. So before that, we'll just complete our code. So I'll use the try block const response. Response is equal to, I'll use this await exercise dot get URL. Then we'll return the result. Response dot data. Then we'll catch the block. We'll catch the error if any error occurs, and we'll print console dot error, and we'll just print error site API, and then we'll return null. So now quickly go to this OpenWeatherMap app, and then we'll copy these URLs. So I have logged in with this OpenWeather. So let's click on this home icon. It will open this window, and let's quickly scroll down and then click on the current weather option. Copy this URL. Let's quickly go and paste here. So I have copied this URL. Let's quickly paste on this. And then let's create the API key. So again, go to this weather app. So now click on the API key. So there is one default keys. So let's copy this key. You can create your own keys, but now I have copied the default one, and let's quickly go and paste it on the key. Let's save this. We forgot to add error. So now quickly create the index.js file. So I will create one more folder, that is pages, and inside this pages I will create one index.js file. So it will use this as our initial or the starting point. So I'll create index.js, and then inside this index.js we'll create default, use the snippet. So let's create, or let's import the fetch component that we have created. Fetch weather file, export this index.js, export default function home, and inside this we'll use this, as I said, we'll enter the city name, and accordingly we'll fetch the data. So I'll use the state variables. I'll create a state variable. So as I said, I'm creating the functional components. So I'll use the use state hook. So city, then set city, then use state, and we'll enter this as empty for initially. Then we'll use the weather, set weather, and we'll use this as false by default, or we'll use this not false, we'll make this as null value. Then we'll return, let's create some div. So before that, let's enter one h1 tag. Let's enter Next.js weather app. Then let's use the input where we need to enter the city name. So let's use the type as text. And the placeholder will use inside enter city. Then we'll use the value as city. And then we'll create a onChange function. Inside that we'll use this arrow one, and then we'll just map the set city, and in that we'll use e dot target dot value. And I think we don't need to close this one. Now we'll create button to fetch the data, where we'll use this on click, and we'll make the API call on this button once we user click on this button. So I'll create one more function, handle search, and let's give the name of that button get weather data, and let's create a function handle search. Let's use this as async, and let's enter if city is not written or city is not present, then just return, otherwise we'll use or we'll keep the data const data, because we are using this async await feature. So I'll make the fetch weather, and we'll pass the city name. So as you can see in the fetch weather, we are just getting the city name, and accordingly will respond to that component. So we'll pass the city, and once the city or the data is present, then we'll set the comment result inside this state variable of this weather. Save this. Now our index or the default component is created, but we have not printed the content on the UI once the response is coming. So we'll create one more component, weather card, and then inside this weather card will print or show this content on the UI. So again I will create one more component, components. Inside this component, let's create one more file, weathercard.js. Let's create or export default function weathercard, and then let's get the data weather, and then let's return the content, or just let's make a div. I'll use the style, or we'll use the style later. Inside this div, let's use h2 tag, where we'll print weather dot name, because the response that we are getting, it's coming inside in JSON format, so we'll use the name, and then says dot country, then we'll use this p tag for the temperature, weather dot main dot temp, and again we'll create one more p tag for weather report, and we'll use weather dot description. So let's save this, and let's import this component inside this index.js. So I'll use this if weather is present, then use this weather card, and will you pass the weather as a props, weather. Now let's save and quickly go to the UI and see if the input is coming or the data is mapped or not. So now project setup is done. So now let's quickly go to the browser and see the UI. So if you see, the Next.js weather app is printed on the UI. So let's quickly open the inspect mode, go to the network tab, and let's enter the city name. So I'll use the city name, that is Pune, and let's click on the get weather details. So now if you see, the API is in pending status, and then I think it will take some time. So now The response is coming, and if you see the weather report, the Pune, the country is India, the temperature that is 29.14 degrees Celsius, and the weather is clear sky. So in this way you can fetch the current weather report using this open source API. So now let's change the name of the city. I will use this Mumbai. I'll enter the Mumbai and let's click on the weather report. If you see, the temperature is changed and the weather is smoky. Now let's click fade the data for the Delhi. Let's click, and if you see, the temperature is 21.05 degrees Celsius and the weather is also changed. And if you see the response, it is coming. So now name, then the lat and long, the temperature, and the weather. So that, so in this way you can fetch the data and map the data on the UI. So that's all about the Next.js weather app. So now let's do a quick recap what we have covered in this tutorial so far. So we started by understanding what is Next.js, why it is used, and its key features like server-side rendering and the client-side rendering. Then we have seen this API data fetching with async await and other optimization features that make it a powerful framework for modern web application. Then we moved on the installation process where we explored the different steps options provided during the installation and followed the official documentation to set up a Next.js app. After that, we have set up or we started with this creation of our weather app from scratch, then where we started our project integration with OpenWeatherMap API, where we use the open source API, and in that I have shown you I have created my account, and in that I'll use this default API key, and I have put that key inside this open source API. And then we have built this simple UI where user can enter the city name and fetch the data, and we have currently shown on the UI. So that's all about the Next.js. It's beginner friendly yet powerful framework that enhances performance, improves SEO, and simplifies web development. So no wonder it's becoming a favorite among developers. If you found this tutorial very helpful, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Let me know in the comment what topic would you like to see in the next. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy coding and have a wonderful day.